So I wanted to go over the CXone release notes that came out, I don't know, maybe a week or so ago. And I don't know, for me, they kind of resonated. It seems like this was the first major release where AI kind of really starts to come onto the stage. And also, I think, I don't know, maybe just for me, there just seemed like there was more, like it's a bigger release, or maybe it was just hitting the things that we utilize all the time. But I want to go over some of this stuff with you guys, especially if you're a CXone user, because I know a lot of people don't read these notes and they're not a nerd like me that actually like loves when this stuff comes out and I go to town on it. So again, this is not an all-encompassing list. I'm sure I'm going to leave out a ton. Please check them out yourself for everything. But these are kind of some of the things that I thought were highlights. And again, maybe selfishly, because these are some of the tools that we really utilize. But this is kind of some of the highlights of kind of what I thought. Number one is, I know a lot of us love that legacy supervisor app, and we just love it because we've been utilizing it for so long. The new supervisor has come out. I think it's a little wordy, right? Less kind of widgety. So, but I've gotten used to it, and I think there's some really, really cool things that you can utilize with it. So don't have a problem with that at all. Not that they were asking, but I really like it. I'm going to do when I do my CXone tips of the day, I'm going to start with supervisor, do some of those alert things, some of the things that I think we've been able to utilize with the new way that supervisor is. Reading the notes here, there's looks like a ton of dashboard enhancements, right? And by the way, this is for User Hub, right? So everything that I'm talking about, if you're using still old school Central, it's not going to be the same. This is for where most of us are on User Hub. This is kind of what these will all deal with that. So a lot of things look like they're happening with the dashboard. I have not been privy to see it. I've actually asked and just shot a couple emails to see if I can get a couple screenshots, and maybe if they let me share them with you, I'll show you. But it looks like more integration into having different types of widgets. Also, performance management. I still call it inview. It was on that Clearview site. It looks like now inview will finally be a part of the CXone dashboard. That's just on a limited release, but it's finally starting to become part of the kind of the family instead of that outcast that we had to kind of log into. Something that's cool and totally random is there's a click to call function now being able to be put on your website, which I think is kind of cool. And there's lots of different ways to do click to call, but that's crazy easy if we can just take a small piece of code like chat, put it on your website, and have it go right to a skill. I think that's pretty cool. That's just an easy enhancement, but again, something that's pretty easy. All right, so let's talk about the AI tools. And some of these are GA, and some of these are kind of on a limited release. But all of the Enlighten tools are now starting to really come on board. So Enlighten Actions, and again, I think CXone guys don't do a great job explaining this. I really have to go to the website and really reading, because they have so many different tools that are doing so many different nuanced things that it's confusing, I think, one or the other. So let me kind of parse through some of this. So Enlighten Actions is like, to me, it seems like analytics on steroids, right? Kind of taking that different data sets and, being able to prompt and ask questions, right? So not just, looking at, interaction analytics and trending keywords, but getting into actual data of what your agents are doing on calls with KPIs, looking at kind of the holistic approach. There's a ton of different models that they've utilized for this. So really cool tool. That's probably my favorite AI tool that they have. I mean, you guys heard me talking about like how, right? I wanted, the not to stop being able to have to look at dashboards and analyze, but having things kind of presented to me. And it seems like Enlighten Actions is kind of the first step towards that. Autopilot is basically their virtual agent. They're kind of their generative chatbot. If I'm looking at that correctly, being able to, basically learn off of your data, use your knowledge base, and kind of look at your top agents, find out how they're utilizing things well, and then, being able to use that as a virtual agent. That's on limited release, but it's now part of the platform that you can ask to be a part of. Generally GA is now, auto summary, which is Enlighten Auto Summary, which is really cool. And I know that they've done a really good job with that, from integrating it into all the different CRMs as well. So, you don't have to take that after call work. If you have a ton of agents and a ton of after call work or a ton of memoing that needs to be done at the end of calls, boom, that can kind of go on there. And then, there's Enlighten Copilot, which is basically kind of like agent assist, right? So, all of this stuff is now starting to kind of come onto the platform where people are starting to utilize it. People are starting to use it. Things are being tested. I think it's going to keep getting better. But that's a huge step in things that we really haven't seen to the extent on previous releases. The other major thing for anyone who is a CXone user, and this is probably a long time coming, is that Studio finally goes web-based. So it's not the full Studio as I read it, as things will continue to come out, but there's a ton there. So you can actually really start to do work finally, go on to CXone. You don't have to download it. It's not a separate program. So that's honestly, that's for anyone who's working in Studio, to be able to open up multiple tabs, be able to do like all the basic stuff from a web standpoint that was a little bit more difficult when you were just using kind of that Studio app, I think is a huge deal. I think for me, APIs are now starting to be opened up for analytics. One of the main things, and I don't know if they listen to me, the heater's kind of hot here, or a lot of us, but on the CXone platform, transcripts were very difficult to get a hold of, and we could do some funky things using interaction analytics, but it wasn't really the right way to do it. So they are now opening up APIs for full transcription, all your metadata, things that it's going to make, I think, life a lot easier, because that was one of the holdbacks I thought was, we couldn't do a lot of reporting or a lot of other, showing of clients of the data with just kind of the tools that were available and even their BI tools or BI reports. So great job on that. Loving that analytics are starting to become open, especially for transcripts. As we all know, to do any type of like third-party AI on your call data, you got to have transcripts, and to have that be available now is a huge deal. And then, lastly, screen recording for Chromebook and Chromeboxes. So if you guys have been following me, we have moved to really Chrome OS as our operating system in our contact center. I'm not going to get into that, but just a huge amounts of benefits. But one of the things that were holding us back to fully roll it out was most of our clients want screen recording on top of, just the voice recording. And that was really not available until now. So that's going to help us, I think, be more secure. And a lot of other companies did a full ChromeOS rollout, which I think is going to help a lot of the organizations. But again, I don't want to make this thing too long. I could go into this for 45 minutes, but I think the highlights here is the AI is now part of the platform. It's part of CXone. If it is not GA, you can ask your TAM or ask people to have you be part of that kind of limited release of some of these tools that are coming out. But again, I would please go look at the Studio, or I'm sorry, at the release notes, because I think there's some really cool stuff on there. But again, just some highlights of that, and hopefully that's a little bit helpful. If you guys have any questions or any other tools that you have a question on that I didn't cover here, because I didn't cover a ton, I just kind of hit some high points that I thought were interesting. Let me know, and I can dig and maybe do another video, or at least shoot you some of my thoughts on it too. Thanks, guys. Hopefully that's helpful, especially all you CXone guys.